Hi guys, today we will analyze the game between Spain and Germany, League of Nations where Spain beat Germany 6-0. I know sounds like a result from FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer game, but this actually happened. If you were ever looking for the perfect match played by one team, then this is the one. Let's analyze certain details. Initial formations are shown here in next image. Spain playing in 4-3-3 formation, with Germany lined up in 4-2-3-1. Joachim Löw played Gnabry as sole forward, with Sané and Werner as vice support. Considering they were playing with Gundogan, Kroos and Goretzka, I was expecting 1-2 midfield setup, with Goretzka as defensive midfielder and Gundogan with Kroos as central midfielders. But this was rather 2-1 setup, with Goretzka at the top of the midfield, probably set there to cover Rodri. Sorry. Spain started with solo defensive midfielder in Rodri and Koke and Canales after 10 minutes Ruiz in half spaces. From the kickoff, Löw decided to maintain mid-block rather than a high press, at least for the first period of the game. Spain were pressing strong and had various ways to penetrate through Germany defense. First, we will analyze Spain's initial attacking and defensive ideas, and let's start with the defensive setup first. While Germans were in mid-block, hoping for some counter-attack chances with Sané, Gnabry and Werner, Spain pressed from the first minute of the match with many players. Their initial pressing formation was 4-1-3-2, as this is usual pressing setup against 4 at the back formations trying to play it out of the back. Two forwards, Morata and Torres, would cover Zile and Koch respectively, while midfielders Koke, Ruiz and Rodri would cover all German midfielders. Olmo was responsible for Ginter, Germany right back, while Sergi Roberto had double role. If the ball is played to Max, Germany left back, he would sprint to shut him down, leaving his position from the back line, and then Ramos, Pau Torres and Gaia were playing 3 versus 3 at the back line. If the ball is played on the other side, Roberto would remain as part of back 4, but this would not be enough if Spain didn't remain as compact as possible when the ball is played wide, thus creating pressing traps. Each time ball is played wide, they would shut down all passing options and attack the player with the ball in full speed. Also, key feature in pressing was cutting the field in half. Each time the ball is played to one of the center backs, Morata or Torres would drop in between the ball and the other center back, therefore inviting Germans to play it forward in crowded area or wide where Spaniards would create pressing trap. Usually pressing traps and triggers are common when the player either don't have the ball under control or misplaced pass is played, or usually with many teams when the ball is played wide, where wide player is simply limited by the touchline and he cannot pass the ball in all angles, as for example central player can. If the ball was played in the middle, all Spain midfielders press strong, denying any option for the Germans to turn or play it anywhere rather than back. Maybe Germans could try to rotate position, and as when faced with the man marking setup, it's good to rotate and leave the other player come to your place. But Gundogan, Kroos and Goretzka didn't do that. They somewhat made it easier for Luis Enrique troops. The best way to get rid of man marking is movement rather than maintaining certain position. Spain offensive organization and play, that's the second thing we will cover here. First 30-something minutes, Germans remained in mid-block, but with couple of issues due to couple of details. First, Morata was always dropping deep from the center backs and thus being another passing option for his players. Olmo and Torres were wide and thus making the pitch as wide as possible. 3, Werner and Sané, somewhat crazy wide positioning. Don't know why this happened. Werner and Sané for the most part of the match remained wide rather than narrow, and Spain was able to play through the middle of the pitch. 4, Spain midfield rotations and forward runs by both Luiz and Koke, as well as the fullbacks. First, we will cover Morata positioning. Morata would often drop in between Kroos and Gundogan, making it hard for the two Germany defensive midfielders to choose who to cover, since they already had Ruiz and Koke to mark. This would often mean that Spain has numerical advantage in the center of the pitch. He would drop back, receive the ball, play it back, and then run forward at the German back line. All of this is seen in image on the screen. Also, Olmo and Torres remained wide when first phase of attack was developing. This making German back line as wide as possible. They made it hard for Germans to make the pitch narrow, also shown on same image. Werner and Sane, for some reason, stayed too wide when Spain had the ball, and this created multiple passing options, and to put it simply, Gundogan, Goretzka and Kroos were simply overrun. 4. Spain midfield rotations as the ball was played further up the pitch made life miserable for Lowe and his players. Once Koke and or Ruiz received the ball, they would play it back and then run behind Germany midfielders, creating vacated space for other players to operate. In the same time, Spain fullbacks on that side, on the side where the ball is played, would run forward, and Olmo or Torres, depending when the ball is, would drop to free zone. This created a mess. When the fullback is running forward, Sane or Werner had to run with him, and with initial movement of Ruiz and Koke in behind German defenders, Germany often had 6 or 7 players in the back line, leaving oceans of space in front of defense. We will see now how this worked for Spain in next couple of animations. Spain were positive in attack, in high numbers where both Koke and Ruiz would join the attack, and fullbacks provided runs from wide. Usually when one fullback is going strong, other one tuck in to create back three, or to put it simply, balance. This functioned on the other side in similar manner. Once Germans were 3-0 down, they tried to press, and we will now see how they did it and what was Spain's response. So Germany pressing scheme after 3-0 down and Spain response. Being 3-0 down, Germans decided for more positive response, but Spain had already answers for that too. First, Koke would drop alongside Rodri to create double pivots. Fullbacks positioned themselves wide. Ruiz operated in left half space and both Olmo and Torres dropped back to help. Basically, at times, whole Spain team was in their own half, so goalkeeper had always multiple passing options. Other thing is that Simon, Spain goalie, was patient with distribution. He waited until Germans attack him and he would then play it forward. Being 3-0 up certainly helped with that. German initial pressing setup was somewhat 4-1-3-2, same as Spain, but positioning of Morata and Ruiz especially made it hard for Germans to decide who to cover. If Gundogan is covering Morata, Ruiz is free, and if he is with Ruiz, Morata is free. Germans tried to man-mark Morata with Koch, but Morata was all over him in terms of physical presence and winning every duel with ease. Koch and Ruiz are way more mobile with and without the ball than Kroos and Gundogan. When they received the ball, two defensive midfielders were always one step behind in action. Rodri was also resilient in pressing, and even Goretzka, who is good at this stuff, was not able to do much. Ruiz played tremendous game, always clever in finding pockets of space. He knew when to drop deep and when to run forward. Conclusion: first, I didn't analyze goals. 2 of the first 3 goals were set-piece goals. I cannot be sure, but first one was clever long ball from corner to second post when Gnabry was marking Morata. Come on guys, it's like 5th grader is fighting Stipe Miocic. I'm not sure was this actual setup from Germany where Gnabry is on second post, but since Morata was roaming there, I'm not sure why they didn't communicate things properly and simply put a stronger, bigger guy on him. Also, I will try to put the goal analysis in the next one I will upload. I was focused on showing how Spain played in both attack and defense. It can be more detailed and it can be more in depth, but I'm happier with this one than the last one. Last but not the least, I'm not sure why Lowe didn't play with 1-2 midfield setup where Goretzka would be deepest of the 3. That way he could cover Morata when he dropped deep and leave more compact backline. Also, I don't know why Sane and Werner were too wide for the better part of the match. They allow Spain too much space to operate. This looked like a match where one team simply didn't show up. Next one is likely Barca versus Atletico for the weekend. I have a busy schedule, but I will manage. As Shankly once said, to paraphrase, paraphrase, football is not a matter of life or death, it's much more. See you next time. Bye bye.